Hi, my name is Metzli Lemos, and I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about Muni. I'm going to be talking to you guys about a little bit of the history, as well as some of the dangers that Muni can bring, but also how to fix those dangers and how to feel safer while riding on the Muni. But first, before I get into that, I'm going to go somewhere a little bit more comfortable where I can relay you guys some information and you guys can actually hear me. Okay, now that I'm off Muni and I can properly communicate to you guys a little bit about Muni, I want to share some more information about the system that many, if not all, USF students use and may not particularly love, but we use it nonetheless. So Muni began as a railroad system and grew with technology. It started off as simply, just the 14 and the 15 line that went across the city to transport in both directions. This way and that way. And this is according to foundsf.org, where they have a huge history and recollection of the way Muni started. And so that's how it began, simply as a train, quite literally train tracks, a train that transported people. And believe it or not, trips on Muni at the time were only 50 cents. 50 cents on weekdays and $1 on the weekends. That's insane. But as technology became more advanced, new updates were being made to the cars as well as the lines themselves. And as of 2000, Muni officially became what we know it as today, which is the bus system as well as the railroad system that we still kind of have, but the Muni trains is what we call them now. So on the SFMTA website, they explained that their name stands for the San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency, which is kind of a mouthful. The name Muni came about because nobody's going to call it SFMTA. And so it's simply short for municipal transportation. So nowadays, there are up to 58 bus lines and 7 light rails lines that connect all of San Francisco to each other. So it went from 2 lines and trains to now 58 lines with buses that are going almost every 5 minutes. I know the 5 line runs every 5 minutes. A few of them run every 30 minutes. But overall, you can get anywhere you need to in the San Francisco area with simply Muni. So Muni is one of the most accessible forms of transportation in the San Francisco area. Muni prides itself on trying to be the most accessible as possible, especially for accommodations that are needed for any Muni passengers. Now, on the SFMTA website, there's a how-to guide with a step-by-step procedure to help people access and ride Muni. So if we look at the steps that they provided online, they basically are pretty simple. There's only 3 steps that you need to get onto Muni. So step 1 is to plan your trip with Muni mobile app. Locate the stop you need to take to get to your destination and, work off of that. You can get anywhere you need. Sometimes you may have to walk a little bit to get to your location, but other than that, Muni can take you anywhere in San Francisco. So step 2, of course, is to pay your fare. It's no longer 50 cents to ride Muni, sadly. But you may do this on a Clipper card or even purchase a ticket on the Muni mobile app. So people under the age of 18 get to ride for free, which is very amazing for teens and youth in the city that need transportation. But if you are over the age of 18, so people 19 and older must pay $2.50 for 2 hours of travel. So every 2 hours you need to reload on your Muni card, but a lot of people just load money onto their Muni app. That way they have money accessible for when they're on the go. And the last step that Muni provides is that you just board your desired Muni and hold on tight while it takes you to your destination. Wait times vary, transportation times vary depending on where you're going, but overall those 3 basic steps are essentially what you need to get started in public transportation in San Francisco. So Muni has become one of the easiest ways to navigate the city. It can quite literally take you anywhere you need to go. And now Muni has been, amazing, easy to use, and relatively safe, but it may not always feel completely safe for its passengers. And in the past recent years, there have been some incidents that kind of contribute to that feeling of not feeling quite safe on Muni. So Safety on Muni is often discussed because while it is one of the best options for transportation, it can feel unsafe for some riders. So the Muni website provides a code of conduct that overall passengers should follow, which includes not disturbing other passengers and not bringing any items that may cause someone danger on the bus, as in weapons and things like that. There's even a campaign called "If You See Something, Say Something," but is this enough to keep passengers safe? Is this enough to make sure that all passengers on Muni are feeling relatively comfortable? Recently on CBS News, reporter Betty Yu covered a story that occurred on Muni around March 14th, 2023. So this case involved two young teens who got into an altercation that led to one of them stabbing the other on the bus. Passengers were startled, to say the least. They were traumatized, but it brought attention to a wide array of violent acts that have been happening on Muni for quite some time now. Last August, a shooting left one passenger dead and another injured in the city's Sunnydale neighborhood. In June, a gunman killed one person and another on a train in the Castro station. In January, police arrested a teen suspected of assaulting an elderly woman on the Muni bus. And last month, which would be in the month of February, when this article was released, a man was caught on video throwing eggs at passengers after going on an anti-Asian rant. And so these violent occurrences are not normal or safe for its passengers. As, a public transportation agency, they try their best to make it safe for all of their passengers, but obviously, some circumstances happen that may make some passengers feel very uncomfortable. Now, moving to San Francisco, riding Muni was something you have to figure out if you want to go anywhere and explore the city, but it does take some getting used to, and in some cases it takes an adaptive strength in order to feel comfortable on the bus. Now, students on campus are expected to learn how to ride the bus, especially since the school provides a free Muni pass that is included in tuition, but not all students can adapt that quickly. I know personally, after hearing about these stories, I was a little bit nervous to ride my first Muni bus. So I knew that I felt like that, so I wanted to ask some other USF students if they felt that way as well. So I asked USF freshman Shobana Stanislaus whether or not she felt safe on Muni. She said, when I first moved to San Francisco, I didn't feel very safe riding Muni at night or by myself, but after getting used to my usual routes, I felt a lot more comfortable. Now, this is something that takes time, but also takes some adapting as well, because we're not all created with the thick skin that San Francisco needs in order to ride Muni comfortably. And so, it takes some time to get used to. It takes some strategies that, could help make people feel more comfortable. So according to sfgov.org, crime rates on Muni have gotten increasingly lower since 2013, which definitely helped a lot of people feel at ease. But starting in 2020, rates started to rise slowly but surely again. And this can make a lot of people feel nervous. Public transportation, obviously, it's not guaranteed that things are not going to happen, especially instances of violence. But there are things that we can do and take into our own hands that would help us feel more safe. Because, of course, these instances don't happen every single day. And as USF students, we should feel comfortable enough to ride the bus so that we can get around to places. So, of course, is the solution to stop riding Muni because you feel unsafe? No. There are plenty of methods that help ease anxiety and discomfort while on public transportation. Now, while changes are difficult to make to the transit system itself, whether that means policy changes, implementation of different safety gadgets, things like that, there are always things we can personally do to ease our fear, because those things take time. And those things also take lobbying and a lot of, just advocacy at the corporate level that sometimes it won't always be easy to accomplish. So what are some things that we can do to make ourselves feel more comfortable? That way we want to ride Muni. So on a website called Wise Tour, an online blog about travel and public transportation while traveling, suggests to stay awake and alert on public transportation, especially at night. They also suggest keeping an eye on passengers around you. So if you do feel uncomfortable in any way, you can move to a more open and comfortable seat, which obviously states a pretty main component, which is stay alert. Don't fall asleep on Muni, things like that. Another online website called IESO, which provides mental health support for those who cannot afford a therapist, also have a few suggestions. They say to identify the baseline of your fear and then take practical steps to put yourself at ease. So, of course, this could be as simple as letting someone know your route and sharing your location with them so they know where you are at all times. Make a mental note of where you feel most comfortable sitting on the bus. That way, you know where you mentally would feel the safest. And of course, take it slowly, or how they call it, graded exposure. So essentially take baby steps into riding the bus. You don't have to do it all at once. Go to the stop and watch a few buses go by. If you feel up to it, get on the bus and go somewhere you feel comfortable. But you could also purchase items that you do not have to use but maintain in your bag in order to feel safer. I will pass it on to our ad break so she could tell us a bit about that item. Hi, I'm here to talk to you guys about an easy solution to make yourself feel more safe on public transportation. Now, everybody feels a little bit unsafe. Everybody feels a little bit, on edge. And so I personally invested in pepper spray. Now, pepper spray can be useful in many different ways. Pepper spray, you could actually use it and spray someone if you are being harassed and you need to feel safe. But also, it's nice to just have in the bag. That way, you feel safe knowing you have it there just in case something happens. You don't have to use it. I purchased mine on Amazon, super cheap, really reliable, and it honestly boosted my confidence that much more while I was in public. And it's super easy to use. Now, you please be careful while using it too. You push open the lid, that way it's open, and then you spray. Simple as that. But again, be careful while using it, but definitely invest in one. It is so comfortable to have one in your bag. It's small, compact. This one has a keychain, that way you can just attach it to your keys. It helps you feel so much more safe living in a big city like San Francisco. Now, of course, having these different, strategies is very, very helpful for students, especially for people who are just moving into the city and need to adapt to riding Muni. So I asked again the freshman Shobana Stanislaus about what she used to make herself feel more comfortable, and she said that she would track her route on Google Maps to know what stop she was at, what route she was taking, and what stop she needed to get off at in order to be clear on her surroundings, and so that she could feel more confident about where she was going and where she needed to get to. Another thing to ease anxiety is to know that you don't have to ride the bus alone. It can be jarring and scary at times, so just know that you don't have to do it by yourself. Take a friend with you to help ease that stress. That way, you'll be more prepared in an instance that you might need to make a trip by yourself. But you don't have to start at level 10. You can start at level 1 and ease into it, kind of like IESO said. Ease into it, take baby steps, and ensure that you're doing what feels comfortable for yourself. So all in all, yes, there are dangers to riding on Muni and public transportation anywhere. But it is one of the most important and accessible ways of transportation as a USF student and San Francisco resident. But don't worry, we have time to figure Muni out and feel comfortable on it. Using these strategies will not only help, but make you a confident Muni rider. Then you'll be exploring all over the city, and we have access to it all for free. We shouldn't feel scared.